Alright, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a prop, and this prop is going to have two different materials. So we're going to file new character here, and we're going to select the standard prop and select OK. And we're going to move this one out of my way. I'm not going to need that. This is my mass object, and below that is the root collision, which I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to hide this for right now. We're not going to mess with that. So with this selected here, I want to go ahead and change this into a cuboid here. And as you can see, the width, height, and length are all the same, which makes the cube completely square instead of oblong. I'm going to copy and paste these values later, so I select it over here, and with the mass selected, I'm going to add a collision. That's one collision. I'm going to add another one. The first one is my top layer, and this second one is going to be my bottom layer. Now these also need to be the same size as the mass. That way when I scale all three at once, they all are uniform. So as you can see, I got one selected. If I marquee selected, as you can see, two over here. So if I click one, only get one get selected. If I select like that, both get selected. Since the top one's already 400 or 0.400, I'll just paste these in here. And there we go. So we'll turn this one on, and I'm gonna select these three here, then I'm going to scale it. Now all three will scale in the same way. That way I ain't got to do them one at a time. Now this prop's going to be a trampoline I'm going to make. It's not going to be a real big one. It may appear to be kind of big in the scene here, but when you make a prop, they're really not as big as they appear to be once you put them in a scene. Alright. Okay, I'm going to need to I'm going to select the mass up here. This is going to be the top of my trampoline. And there's the floor. I need to decide how high or low I want this trampoline, because when this trampoline bounces, it'll stop at the floor here, but if it's too low and something bounces on it, it will stop at the floor and stop bouncing. So I need to get it a little bit high, not real high. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and select this bottom one, which is going to be material here, and this is where it's going to stop. It's going to stop right here. What's going to happen when you select the top here, you can see how this follows. So when this bounces or something hits it, it'll stop here at the floor like this. It might go through it a little bit. So alright, this is the bottom layer, and up here is going to be the sponge layer. Let's hide the mass here so we can see what we're doing. This is the top layer. Now we're going to go ahead and set this to the steel here. And we're going to set the second one to sponge. Alright, now when I select back up here, what's going to happen when the character falls, he's going to hit the steel, and since these are both connected together, the sponge is going to bounce off the floor like that. Now you're probably saying, why don't you use sponge for the top one? Well, actually the character, or if you use like a mass object, it'll penetrate the cuboid here, and it won't look as normal. It's you really don't want to do it that way, because you won't get the good bounce effect. And you probably say, for the top layer, why didn't you use rubber? Well, actually rubber is not good for a character up here, because it's actually It's too icy, and you can mess with these settings if you want later. But anyway, let's get going here. Now I'm going to go ahead and select my sponge here. Now as you notice, my sponge is the same size as the top here, is because if the character jumps over on the right, it helps it from tipping. So if I was to scale this in like this and he jumped on the right, the whole thing will tip together. I'll Control Z that is because the top of the trampoline and the bottom all follow the same together. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this up just for visual effects, and you can mess with this later. This kind of needs to be off the floor here. Make sure it ain't below the floor or above the trampoline, or you'll have a bad day. Alright, I really don't want to see the sponge here, but let me explain it one more time. What's going to happen? The character is going to come down. He's going to hit the steel here, the top plate. The top plate is connected to the sponge. When the sponge hits the floor, it collides with the floor, it'll sponge like that. So that said, we're going to go ahead and hide the sponge here. And let's double make sure we got all that selected. That was sponge, and the top one was steel. Alright, we're going to go to File, Character Save As, and we're going to call this one Trampo, as in trampoline. It's going to be saved to a folder on my desktop. Press OK. And we're going to go ahead and select New Scene. Now we're going to select this icon to add that. What we did was we made it a prop, so we're going to load the prop through here. If you do not see the word Trampo, if you made one called Trampo, you need to locate the folder you saved it to. So we'll select it here, and then we'll go ahead and select our character and bring him up. Simulate it, and if I turn this a little bit, now when I move the character over to the left, the sponge underneath it, since it's the same width and length of the top, it'll help stabilize it. And let me show you what would happen if you edit it. We want to edit the trampoline here. There's the one. Now if I was to, let's see this simulated before I do anything. As I explained, the character hits the steel is connected to the sponge collides to the floor. You can see how that works. Let's go ahead and edit that again by right clicking. Now if I want it to tip a little bit, we might scale this in. I need to, since I selected the pose move, I got out of edit here, so let's get this back again. Got a bad habit of doing that. So we're gonna set this in. If I wanted to, this will make the trampoline a little bit more tippier. And if you get too much, it will actually flip over, so be careful how much you do on here. So let's just go ahead and set that back. Right click, edit, scale this back. So actually the bottom here is actually the floor of the top of the trampoline. In other words, if you want to know how that works. So, and let me show you why I wouldn't use the ice on that. Let's go ahead and let's go back here and edit this one more time here. The top layer, let's see here. With steel, now if I set this to ice, just a little too slippery. Let's set this to rubber. Steel seems to work pretty good. And we'll go ahead and add a mass object. Let's offset these two just a little bit. Visualize it. I'll set this here. Set this one up. We'll select the character, go over to the left a little bit. I'll bring him down so I can see where he's going to land. Move him over. And bring him up. Said, we'll edit it one more time so it'll tip. Let's go ahead and we'll select here. Test it out. Anyway, you get the idea how that works. Anyway, thank you very much.